Good, good, good morning, everybody. Isn't it a pleasant and lovely morning? So, I'm just going to tell you a story about triangles. I'm a big component of the numerical system. Now, I'm going to make a joke, okay? I'm going to make a joke, all right? Now, this is for entertainment and also educational purposes as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I love cats, you know. I'm a big component. So, I love cats. So, when I went to college, I was a big component of this cats. See, C-A-T, cats. Cats. I love the word dog. You know the acronym. You know what is? Hey, Mr. Jimmy Fallon. Let's go back to SNL times. What's the acronym for broom? When you went to this thing called comedian school and you decided to become what they call in the business of a clown, what's the acronym of broom? What does broom mean to a comedian? Do you know what the acronym broom means? Or, matter of fact, what is this Steve Harvey? What does comedians and Steve Harvey have in common? Act like a lady, think like a man. Okay? Great book. So my question to you, Mr. Jimmy Fallon. I see a very while ago, I'm not going to bring this subject up. You worked in SNL. You were under your mentor, this creator. I'm not going to even mention his name because it's just a comedy festival. I find this so achoo. So the Illuminati, I'm laughing at this. They do not understand that there is a guy named Moses. See, do you see any books in square form? Look. Let's count, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, wow. OMG, ladies and gentlemen. So, are you discriminative of the X concept? So, let me ask you a question. So, to your relatives, I find this hilarious. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, because I put this in my notepad. What is, how does someone join the Illuminati? What does one have to do to join? Now, I'm saying this as a joke and for educational purposes. Now, when, as a newscast equivalent, I'm going to start laughing. So, Mr. Fallon, what is the Illuminati? Oh, what's this? Oh, this is just an art project. So, Mr. Fallon, you don't know who my relative George is? So, question number one. I got a question. Dr. Phil McGraw has a relative named Sharon. Her name was changed to O'Sullivan. Her original relative's name was McGraw. So, let me ask you a question. Do you know who Sharon is, Mr. Fallon? Let me bring up a quick story. I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was a teenager, I got invited to this SNL thing. And there was this guy named, let's just call him Samuel. Let's just bring up the story. And, you know, I had a shoe problem. I had a shoe condition, right? See, one shoe. Where's the other shoe, Jimmy? Where's the other shoe? So, let me ask you something. You know that everywhere in the past, they have a thing called Kodak. They have these camera things, right? You know I designed most of that stuff. I'm going to just say this for film and videography equivalent. You know I have tons and tons of stuff. I got plenty of stuff in this little jar condition. So how now? Two questions I want to ask. How does a psychiatrist define what is schizophrenia? I'm going to ask this question. What is the definition of schizophrenia for you guys in your Illuminati? Is schizophrenia where you take a person and commit MK Ultra, in which I had not only did I have to testify, ladies and gentlemen, I have the notes. And not only that, you know, Mr. Oppenheimer did research and development just like Alan Turing on the MK Ultra. So don't think that I'm not going to lie to the system, or I'm going to BS you. So I think that Dr. Phil should start telling the truth, because a very long time ago in Zatorian law, there were rules made up about mind control, and you're not allowed to mind control anybody. Now I'm going to say this name, Oprah Winfrey, to this extent, Mr. Dr. Phil. You understand that that person is a sick individual, and that's why Sharon told you, Mr. Dr. Phil, not to ever bring up certain people related to my relatives. Because you, Mr. Dr. Phil, need to start explaining about the Orion Project. There was a thing a long time ago when the whole country was being built that they condoned Masons. Master Masons condone the Illuminati, condone them, because they did not see fit that you mix magic and science together. Let me explain that. You cannot mix science and magic together. All of this stuff, this whole system, you have to get permission from God himself. You can't just do things. So I'm going to say this to Bell. B-E-L-L-E, Bell. You know who you are. I know your name. I've met you when I was a teenager. You need to explain to John where half of my stuff is. Because Jimmy Kimmel, I can't wait, because this is the next part. Mr. Kimmel, this is where Trump has to start answering questions. See, Dr. Phil did a puff piece. He didn't answer those questions. So I'm going to give you some, I'm going to do this video and give you some feedback. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was a teenager, I was fully aware of what happened with SNL, with the drug scandal that was going on with the creator. There was a drug scandal that was going on at the time. And they're not willing to admit that to the public. This is why SAG is going to get involved in some of these things in the workers' comp case. Not my case, other people's cases. Because SAG, you have to start explaining yourself on where half of these devices, like these earbuds, are doing with anyone's mind. You can't put an Oculus device on somebody, because that is what you call MK Ultra, and that's considered illegal. This is why, a long time ago, Mr. Fallon knows about this story, because there was a guy named Matthew Perry who even told him this. Do not play stupid games with what you call Muslim people. He told you that. And Matthew Perry wrote in a book, just like Robert Kiyosaki wrote in a book. You don't mess with people when it comes to money. You don't screw people in business. So that's what I'm going to say to you, Mr. Fallon. You're not allowed to, no offense, none of you people in those shows, in those Tonight shows, are allowed to be asking any of those people's questions. Because no offense to you, I'm going to explain this. President Trump has to start answering people's questions in New York. Because it has to do with your Illuminati organization. You can't run things where it's magically related. That means any type of medication. You have any medicine, like this. See, this is for headaches for me. I have headaches. But you have to be careful with some of those medications. You have to be prescribed. You can't take alcohol with it. And that's another thing I'm going to bring up with Mr. Dr. Phil. You're not being honest. You need to stop lying to your own relative. That's your own wife. Because let me explain something to you. There are things that are outside this universe that can be brought inside this universe. Like your own relative that's not alive. They can come into the universe. Means that those people can be summoned. Not in an illegal way, but in ways that you need to understand. Your own relatives that are passed away, they can talk to you. Dead people can talk to you. I'm not going to say that it's legal. It's illegal. And that's why I don't study any of that stuff. I studied that in college. And that's demonic. And that's some of those people that do tarot cards or any of that stuff. That's why Mark Rubenstein is training me to do some of that stuff. Meaning I don't touch some of these books that deal with haram or sins. And that's something that you have, Mr. Phil, in your office. You have devices that do not belong to you. So, there was this person I met named Sarah Knight. And you need to say, as Mr. Fallon, and you need to calm the F down. Calm the F down. Calm the F down. You need to chill the heck out. You got serious anger management issues. And if you don't have it, you certainly do. Because I can feel half of your relative's presence. Meaning that I don't need to feel your presence. I need to understand that some people are gifted. There's certain things that schizophrenia or any of those conditions cannot be explained. You can feel someone's feelings. Empaths feel that stuff. Everybody in this whole universe is what you call as an empath, or they're apathic. That's even described by Dr. Phil. He explains that. So you know, I am not a telepath. There are people that are out there that they can mind read you. And that's not telepathic. That's an ability. Certain forensic psychiatrists can do that for a living. They've done tests with that stuff. And the military does not want me to explain that. But I will explain something that you cannot make up stories. You have to tell the truth. So when you have people on those shows, they're going to have to stop lying to you. Because Mr. Kimmel, I think he understands certain things, because when he had his child with this pediatric condition, I think he understands that some of those things in the medical system are flawed. And that's something that Dr. Phil will not admit to you. There is a problem. You can't just have somebody on a show and not explain the whole background of the show. And no offense, Mr. Dr. Phil, I don't appreciate any of the stuff that you're insinuating. Because you do insinuate certain things to your own relatives. And I went to medical school. I can't lie to that. I can't sit here and lie to God himself. Because I can't make up stories. But what I will tell you is there are people out there that don't appreciate lying. And it's the thing that has to do with the broom effect. And a thing called the French goodbye. Because some of you people with this television nonsense, it has to stop. It has to be over. Because all you're doing is you're pulling out what you call in the business as garbage. It serves no purpose. Now I'm going to say this to you, Mr. Fallon. And I'm going to say something to you. What exactly is your purpose in your life? What makes you different than any of those comedians or any of those people on the talk show? What are you willing to do different to make changes? And are you willing to be honest with people? Not just religious people. Are you willing to be honest with some of the stuff that is explained in these old books? Because let me tell you something. God is watching and he's listening. He's not stupid. So if you are on those shows and you're going to play stupid games, because I met Robert Kiyosaki. I met him in college. Just like I have those people's names posted. Billy Carson's II. Daniel Ike. Those people I met in university. And I had them not sign stuff. I had done research on a lot of this stuff that has to do with neurological studies, that has to do with psychology and psychiatry. This is not just my only book that I had. I have many books in my room. I study this stuff for a living. So when I say this, out of respect, you don't have my permission. Now I'm going to explain this. You don't have my permission nor authorization to have some of my relatives on those shows from now on. If you're going to have somebody go on those shows, you're going to have to issue myself, meaning myself, which I'm going to have rules from now on. Not just for myself, but for any clients, where it's an itemized bill and it's a contract, and I hand it to you. And you have to look at that contract. And that's how the rules and regulations work in the attorney or accounting field or financial field. Those are the rules and regulations that were explained to me in the original books I had like these. I had written books. And don't think I hadn't written books. Some of these books that you have my information, just like my father and my uncle's relatives' information. And I don't appreciate a thing called plagiarism. So this is what I have to say. This is not to be rude or annoying to Mr. Donald Trump. This is to teach you a lesson. There are people out there that do not want to play games with your relatives anymore, Mr. Donald Trump. They want answers. And if you're not willing to answer their questions, then you're going to, not only will you have a podium problem with that system, the escalator, none of that stuff is going to work. Because if you're playing God with any of this medication, or if you're not who you say you are and you're an imposter, you're going to have a serious problem. Because God is my witness. Yahweh is my witness. Adonai is my witness. They do not play games with life and death. So if you're doing any type of experimentation with your body and you're using those medications illegally and it's affecting you, you're not in capacity to work. You shouldn't be president of the United States. And I'm going to say a next statement. You did not pass a medical exam. Nobody had. Did a test. John Gatchins did a test on you. Your own daughter had me do a test. You did not pass the medical exam. You failed. Because you didn't pass. You have serious medical issues. I'm not going to go into depth on how serious it is, but you do not make up stories. And when I was in Army University and I did stuff for Department of Defense and the Justice Department, they're not going to want me to explain the next part, which I am going to explain. You're going to have what they call a shock effect, because the universe is going to engulf, meaning that your own relatives are going to start turning against you because you're not being honest. This is why I don't like to talk about these things, but on the Uncle John Show, I don't like to BS people. I don't like to BS kids. You cannot make up stories. You have to be honest with the FDNY. You have to be honest with the New York City Police Department or the Sheriff's Department. And if you're not going to be honest, Mr. Trump, you're going to have a problem, because those people in workman's comp, they're going to start asking your own daughter and their own people things that are not HIPAA related, but are related to what happened in the past. And if you're not willing to be honest about a real estate exam or any of that stuff, you're not going to have any of that stuff. And your own kids won't have any of that stuff either. So if you cheated, you're going to be found out. They're going to start doing videotapes and recordings like this. So I'm warning you, do not play games with me anymore. If I sent a letter to those people, like the Secretary of State or the State Attorney General, I'm telling those people you need to start answering questions. So thank you guys. Have a pleasant and wonderful day.